So I hope that by everyone listening to my testimonies here, that you all have the understanding I'm not like most people. And believe me, please, I say this with a humble heart, and there's nothing anyone can say or do to convince me that I am not the least of all of those who love Christ. I tell you, I live every day knowing that had another man loved God as much as I, it would have benefited the kingdom of heaven 1,000-fold. It actually breaks my heart on a regular basis that it was me who decided to love and obsess over Christ and not some other man who has resources and friends and confidence. I truly mean this. I only want what is best for His Majesty. So it saddens my heart and soul that it had to be a wretch like me who fell absolutely in love with our beautiful, glorious King. I just felt like I really needed to say this before explaining this miraculous event. You see, the only reason I'm still here functioning in this world and still participating in society is solely for my little girl. Since the moment we found out about her conception, there was nothing more important to me than my daughter and her mother. And even though I started loving Christ more than my daughter, that little girl is the only thing in my world. She's the only reason I desire to continue living on this earth. You see, I cannot bear the thought of her going a single day in this life with the heartbreak it would cause her to not have me in this world. My love for her is the reason I'm still alive to this day, and I'll leave it at that. I tell you these things because I feel it will help you better understand what will follow. Without going into full detail, because there's some truths the Lord has not given me permission yet to share, I'll explain it like this. My daughter and I have had ups and downs on my journey with Christ. We have had stretches where we could live together and then stretches where we cannot. The past good stretch had been long, and although it still had its struggles, for the most part, we were so happy. But once again, the time would come where the enemy would make me choose either God and pleasing Him or mine and my daughter's comfort and happiness. I tell you, this is so painful to talk about, so please listen carefully. Obviously, I chose God. So the clock immediately started ticking for my daughter and I to lose our stability once again. And she would have to go stay with her mother full time, and I would be homeless once again. So in this despair and heartache, I just wanted it to be over. So I began to pray. I pleaded with God to call me up, not in death, but to be caught up like Enoch and Elijah. I know I'm like a dead bacteria on a piece of scum that is on a grain of sand. I'm nothing. But you have to understand that this road of absolute love for God is incredibly difficult, and I believe that God can materialize and make manifest a tree here in front of me right now. There is nothing beyond Him. So this went on for a few days, fasting and heartbreak, just counting the days until homelessness again. I kept praying about it. Please, Almighty, call me up like Enoch, like Elijah. Catch me up like you did Philip, but only keep me. And after all this, one night I went to bed, and I hadn't even really been asleep. I had kind of dozed off a moment, but I was awoken by the sound of light. And let me tell you, light can make a sound. This light had made a sound. I can't even remember a single thread of the sound it made that night. Maybe it's not meant for human minds, but I know the sound was there. And when I opened my eyes, they were filled with light. And then there was complete silence. I mean, it was as though I was deaf. And as the light grew brighter and brighter, I could feel changes happening in my body. I still couldn't see anything but this golden light that should have been blinding me, but it wasn't. I actually wanted more of this light. This amazing, beautiful light that was filling me with emotions that I'm not sure I had ever felt before. And my body started to feel like it was turning into pure energy. And in my mind, I'm getting so excited because I'm not even thinking about my prayers lately. I'm so happy because the rapture, it's happening right now. I'm thinking I'm about to be raptured and my daughter is in the other room. I'm sure she is experiencing this right now and we'll both be out of this rotten world in just a few moments. So while I'm thinking all of this, the light I'm seeing kind of moves away from me towards my right. And I'm suddenly looking down this hallway. And I can tell now that the light is coming from a door in that hallway. But I can see the entire hallway inside and out. It's floating in the midst of so many colors. I can't tell you what these colors were. I can see the light glowing and radiating from this door, and I should be able to see the light on both sides of this door, if that makes sense, but I can't. It's just coming from the door and lighting up this hall that's floating in an infinite space of colors. Then suddenly a woman appears in the hallway. She has black hair, she's dressed normal, and she's not overly pretty or anything. She's just a woman. So this woman, whom I don't know, she smiles at me and raises her hand, gesturing me to enter the door. And at this time, I realize I'm floating. I can't see my body. I can only see what I've explained here. But I feel my body, and it's feeling so young and fresh and incredibly light. And I somehow can move in this place I'm floating in. I decide to move towards the lady, and on instinct, I ever so gently move towards her. But it's just an inch because I'm suddenly given understanding that this is just for me. This is not happening for my daughter, or it's not some big event. And my mind goes to the image of my little girl asleep in the next room over. And I begin to imagine her waking up to find me gone. Not dead, but I would have completely disappeared from this world without a trace. And knowing that there's just no way I could leave her behind like this, I begin to explain, no, I can't. Not yet. I have to be here for her. I have to be here when she wakes up. I don't know who I was telling this to, but there was instant understanding and acceptance. It wasn't like I had let God down or anyone down. It was more like God was going through the steps of catching me up so I could see that there's no way I'll leave my child behind right now. I'll only be ready to go if it's the big one, the big event. I'm not special. It's just that He already knew that I was going to stay here for her, no matter how hard it gets. So I felt my body changing back. I felt how old I was again. I felt the pain in my leg and back from my nerve damage. I felt my body floating back down into the bed. The light filled my eyes again. And before it began to dissipate, I somehow seen without actually seeing, and I know that makes no sense, but that's the only way I can describe seeing this hand, a hand that I felt place something on my forehead. As soon as the hand was finished, the light completely vanished and I could hear again. But it was silence that I was hearing. So I just laid there for a little while and thought about what had just happened. I would end up getting up out of bed and I reached out to a friend of mine who works nights and doesn't mind talking late at night. But like usual, it would be later on, maybe even a couple weeks later, when I was finally shown how angels place the seal of God on people's foreheads, and how some people see just the hand of the angel, or some people's angel will completely reveal themselves to place the seal. Now, the only disclaimer I can give is I know there's a possibility that I'm just completely delusional. And it's possible that all of these things are just in my head and God isn't really interested in me on any level. But I want to leave you with this. No matter what I share or say or what I teach, the visions, prophecies, etc., just know this. Everything I say, I believe.